Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco, and this is your daily FaB gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns, with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future, to take down paper events, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you'd like to check out the list I'm playing here, or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week, and there are even more benefits coming down the pipeline. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. Having lost the die roll, we will be going first. That does seem to be correct from the Kassai side of the board, as Kayo going first is really dependent on a cast bones or a windup to do anything. I'm not excited to throw any sort of damage at Kassai on turn 1, as I don't want to let her filter her hand, and I don't want to give her more Valiant Dynamo value than she will be getting already. As far as our sideboard goes, what you see is correct. These games can go fairly long, so Spring Tunic in the board does seem largely correct. I have made some boarding changes from when this game was recorded. Swing Big is out, Send Packing is out, and those may seem like very important cards to not have for this matchup. The problem is that Warrior blocks so well. Their entire deck is 3 blocks. They have Brave Forge Bracers, Grains of Blood Spill, and Valiant Dynamo for blocking damage. So Send Packing is unlikely to connect, and if Send Packing is not actually connecting, or even forcing Warrior to not do something which they already wanted to do, in this case, Warrior is happy to block, then Send Packing is just a 3 for 6, which is very bad. Swing Big is a 2 for 8, which is much better, but again, Warrior is able to easily block that out with 2 cards from hand and a piece of armor, or even 3 cards from hand. And when Warrior is blocking Swing Big and getting a Quicken because of it, they now have access to a 1-card 5 by pitching a blue, attacking with a hatchet, then attacking with a second hatchet, and either of those hatchets hitting lets Warrior make a Vigor token based on Grains. So we don't want to give Warrior more go again than she already has. Swing Big is out. Aside from that, Humble is very bad against Kassai. It's very unlikely that she is going to need to use her hero power, either one, to make a turn happen. So Humble is just a 2 for 6 that has no relevant text and blocks 2. Savage Performance, Smashing Performance, 1 is not on my list anymore. 2, you may think sounds very good if we can break one of Kassai's gold tokens that could significantly reduce the power of her Blood on her hands turn. The problem is, as soon as Kassai has even 1 copper token, we now have a 50% chance of Smashing Performance being completely irrelevant, because blocking copper really does not matter. And if Kassai is making a lot of copper with Spoils of War, then Smashing Performance gets even worse and just becomes a 3 for 6, which, as we've already established with Send Packing, is not good. Savage Beatdown is in the deck. At this point, Savage Beatdown has been replaced by Massacre, but in either case, it is a card that lets us go very tall over the top of Kassai's blocks, which is how we can finish games. She can block very well, but she can only block so much. So if you are able to put a good Blood Rush turn together with 3 links that either starts with Savage Beatdown or Massacre and an agility token, or ends with Massacre or Savage Beatdown, you're doing a lot of damage that Kassai can no longer easily deal with. Our game plan for dealing with Kassai is going to be to race. We are looking for full offensive value. We are really not trying to block as much as we can avoid it if we are able to convert our hand to full offensive value, because Kassai is going to be outvaluing us. She has Valiant Dynamo, which is going to be more consistent than our Kayo effect-making might. Her deck is full of Hit and Run, Blade Runner, Take It on the Chin, Glint the Quicksilver, all of which make agility or create Go Again, that will let Kassai get value with either hatchets or sabers, whichever one-handed weapon she's on. We are, however, looking to block Spoils of War when we see it. When we think we can block it, we want to do so. The way we lose to Kassai is by letting her get 6 copper and playing a blood on her hands. If she gets to do that, she's very likely going to win the game. If she does not get to create copper and does not get to play an effective blood on her hands, we're going to win the game with 20 life left. Because Kassai as a mid-range deck, at least in my experience, is very bad against Kayo. Kassai as a combo deck with Spoils of War and blood on her hands is very good against Kayo. So as much as you can, block Spoils of War. So the onus is on us to win this game. Warrior is a difficult matchup for Kayo, but so long as we are getting our offensive value, setting up effective Blood Rush turns, and pushing consistent damage, we will be able to get there over Kassai. So let's fire up the game and see what that looks like in practice. Going first, this hand is not good, so we're just going to pass the turn. We are going to Arsenal a Blood Rush Bellow. There is a reason not to do this, as Kassai does play Command and Conquer. That said, we have plenty of 3 blocks in hand that will allow us to protect it. Hot Streak gets Go Again if we block with an attack action. Our deck is full of those, so we are not going to block the Hot Streak. Kassai will be pushing very big damage this turn, probably looking to Arsenal a card. What I would like to do in order to set up the big blood rushes that we need in order to win this game is block this Saber with a Reincarnate. On our turn, I want to attack with Command and Conquer for 6, then discard Agile Windup to make a Might and an Agility. Command and Conquer for 6 is very likely not going to be relevant. Kassai gets to block that with 2 cards from hand. She gets to block it with a card from hand, Brave Forge Bracers, and Valiant Dynamo. But we are taking some kind of resource from her. We are slowing her down just a little bit, and we're setting up a situation where we have a 5-card Blood Rush with Agility and a full Spring Tunic. And I think that's going to be a lot better than, say, taking 7 here, discarding Windup on the end of Kassai's turn, and then firing off a 4-card Blood Rush without Tunic. So even though the Centauri Saber is going to get additional power by being blocked by an attack action card, I think we're getting more value out of our Reincarnate on defense than we are by trying to fire off a suboptimal Blood Rush turn. Now here, I strongly disagree with what just happened. Agile Windup for 7 is fine damage, but is not setting up a big Blood Rush turn that we really want to go over the top. We will have a 5-card Blood Rush with Tunic, but unless we can draw into Wild Ride or Pulping, we are not going to have a very effective Blood Rush turn. We really want to be going 3 links wide with Blood Rush, not just 2. And if we don't have Agility or Go Again, that's all we're going to be able to do. We also draw into another Blood Rush, which kind of just prices us into sending the Blood Rush from hand here. We do not have effective blocks. that would also let us do anything relevant on our next turn. We could block the Centauri Saber with this Blood Rush from hand, discard Agile Windup to make Might Agility, then use Tunic and a Bear Fangs to play a second Bear Fangs, but we really just should not block, let Kassai do Kassai things, and fire off a pretty suboptimal Blood Rush. Instead, opting for Claw, discard Windup, use Tunic to play Bear Fangs, I think is fine. I think that is a better line than what I just recommended, but I also would have liked to have played our previous turn differently so that we already had agility from discarding other Windup to potentially have a very strong double Blood Rush turn. Here we are setting up a 5-card Blood Rush, but we won't have Tunic to use it with. Thankfully, Bear Fangs does hit the draw discard, so still sending 8 here. Kassai will get to cover that up. I'm assuming she has Go Again in her arsenal, so this will be pitch a blue, attack with a thing, play a Blade Runner on the first sword. It is a Gorg Tome, so we'll see what Kassai has going on. Here I would like to block Hot Streak with a Scabskin Mothers. This is going to prevent her from using Grains unless she has Go Again from hand, which she does. Outside of this, I'm not going to block. Saber here coming in for 5 is a lot of damage. Kassai either gets an arsenal or gets to pitch into Grains. That said, we have agility, we have a 5-card Blood Rush hand. Hopefully looking to play a Savage Feast after the Blood Rush. Very hopeful that we do not discard that. And we are paid off as we are going to get to Savage Feast, Claw or Wild Ride. I have really good options here, so definitely sending a lot of damage Kassai's way. How do we want to follow up this Savage Feast? We will very likely pitch into Claw. Yeah, this is good. Hoping to draw a 2 for 6 and discard Send Packing. Unfortunately, we don't, but we are going to get to follow up Wild Ride with Mandible Claw for 5 Go Again, then Arsenal Send Packing. So overall, a really solid looking turn here. Kassai will get to break Balance of Justice if her hand makes that a viable option, but pushing quite a bit of damage, closing up that life gap between the two of us. And Send Packing and Arsenal, not the best card. As I said in the intro, it is a 3 for 6. Kassai very likely gets to block it out without much hindrance to her game plan, but there's certainly worse cards to put into our arsenal. Here, drawing into another Blood Rush Bellow. I would like to block this Saber as well as the Hot Streak coming next. If I can block with Beatdown and E-Strike, then play Send Packing from Arsenal and Arsenal this Blood Rush Bellow, then I think that is a solid line. With that in mind, I think blocking with Beatdown and Bonebreaker here is our best line of play. We get another Might token, which means our Send Packing will come in for 8. Kassai probably needs to give us 2 cards in order to prevent that, or is going to give us 2 pieces of armor, which is not necessarily equally good, but still very strong. We can then cover the Hot Streak with a single Enlightened Strike. Blocking with Flesh Bag here does ensure that Kassai does not get to play reaction, also can only come in with Hot Streak, which is going to let us get our value out of E-Strike on defense. I think that's fine. It's an aggressive use of Flesh Bag, but I actually do like it here quite a bit. It ensures that Kassai has a card in the arsenal for us to threaten with send packing. It being Springboard Somersault means that we were punished. We did not need to strip it with Fleshbag, as Kassai would not have gotten to use it. But at the same time, solid. We are getting an additional card out of Kassai. We now know that she very likely has a Springboard Somersault in Arsenal, and we can probably look to block with I would like to block with Cast Bones. I would not like to block with anything else. So I would like to not block this Hot Streak. At the end of Kassai's turn, I want to discard Agile Windup to make an Agility, and then I want to play Blood Rush, guaranteeing that I discard this Beast Within, go back up to 3 cards in hand with 2 resources floating, Agility, and a full Tunic. So let's not block the Hot Streak. Let Kassai get her Blade Runner. Glint the Quicksilver here, even better that we didn't block. Kassai gets to pitch into Grains and then follow up with Saber for 2, which we will block with Cast Bones, and now we are keeping in mind that Kassai has Springboard Somersault in Arsenal. Don't do that. What are you doing? This is the worst play I've ever seen. We are going to get to Mandible Claw for 3, discard Agile Windup to give it go again. Discarding Mighty Windup is fine too. We'll make 2 Mights, which means that we're practically guaranteed to hit with Cast Bones. It is extremely, extremely unlikely that our Cast Bones reveals fewer than 4 6-power attacks. This is fine. Kassai is losing value by blocking with the Springboard Somersault. This is going to play into my strategy of setting up extremely over-the-top turns. This is probably right, honestly. This is probably the correct thing to do. Take the Claw into Cast Bones line, holding on to our Blood Rush. My only concern with this is we no longer have Fleshbag, so we cannot prevent Kassai from having a very large turn. And I would have liked to have fired off the Blood Rush already. With Kassai leading with Hit and Run, we know that her turn is probably not going to be all that strong. Without Blade Runner, the Centauri Saber here is going to be missing a lot of power. Yes, Kassai gets to pitch into Brave Forge Bracers if she wants to, or Saber and Grains, but this is fine. We can just take this damage. I think we did get a little lucky that this is apparently the most that Kassai can do with her turn. It very easily could have been much worse for us, and we could have been punished for still having this Blood Rush Bellow in our arsenal. So, considering that we have a bunch of Might and a Blood Rush Bellow in our arsenal with an Agility, I think firing off the Command and Conquer first is just correct. We CNC for what? 13, 14 with Go Again. We float a resource that lets us play Blood Rush Bellow. We get to then follow that up with Pulping or Swing Big, Mandible Claw or Swing Big. We have a lot of options. The only thing I don't want to do is accidentally discard this Command to conquer the Blood Rush. CNC for 14 with Go Again is either going to deal a ton of damage to Kassai and get this arsenal away from her, or she's going to give a ton of cards to protect it. And in fact, we do just snipe a Sink Below from her arsenal. And we play Blood Rush Bellow. We draw into an extra blue. This is fine. Send the Mandible Claw for 5 with Go Again. We'll use our Tunic to swing big for 10, and then we'll arsenal this Pulping. Kassai giving cards to defend the Mandible Claw means that she very likely cannot defend the Swing Big in order to get her Quicken. Or if she does give us a ton of cards from hand, then maybe she doesn't even get to use the Quicken that we give her. She does get her Agility from Take It on the Chin, but will also take 5 from the Swing Big. And we're setting a Pulping into Arsenal as well. Kassai breaks Gold, uses Hero Power. We're very unlikely to block any of this. We can certainly wait for this second attack to decide if we're going to block anything. We have 2 blues, we have a Wild Ride. We can start with that and just see where the turn takes us. If Kassai does do anything that we need to block, then we have armor available. We have pretty poor blocking cards, honestly, but they could get the job done. We still have our Apex Bone Breaker. Kassai will just be pitching into Grains. We'll be getting Blade Flurry damage. Let's take another 4. That's going to let us fire off what will hopefully be a very big turn unless we brick off the top of our deck. We do not brick, fortunately, so we can just follow up this Wild Ride with Mandible Claw Pulping. See how many cards Kassai wants to give us on defense. Very few from the looks of it, which is great news for us. Kassai can definitely give us armor here, but she is running out. We get Grains, which is a huge pickup for us. Kassai does not currently have Go again, though very likely that she will. There's the Spoils of War, and we have to worry about 1 additional card in Kassai's hand. Hot Streak already has Go again. Blocking this with Bone Breaker and Agile Windup seems fine. Cover 4 points of damage, make an additional Might. And we can play a Pulping out of Arsenal. We could also play a Pulping out of hand, which would threaten 8 with Dominate, hopefully Dominate Go again. I think we can just take this Saber damage. Instead, choosing to block for 3. I don't necessarily agree with that, though I do see a world where we play Pulping, pitch Beast Within, would have drawn and discarded a red so that the Command and Conquer would just rot in hand. I think that was the correct play. Here Kassai very likely just blocks for 3 and blocks with Dynamo, takes 4 down to 1. And puts herself into a position where she is dead to our next Pulping. We draw into an extremely bad hand, but Kassai does just scoop it up. I think pretty well played by me. The Blood Rush turn in question, where I instead claw, discard, wind up, cast Bones, was questionable. I think it ended up working out very well for me. But there is a world where it doesn't. There's a world where Kassai does something much more impactful on her turn, even just playing a Command and Conquer, and that we were in a great position the turn prior to fire off a 3-card Blood Rush with Agility and Beast Within to effectively give us 2 floating resources and 3 cards in hand with Tunic. I think that would have been a lot better on average. And while it paid off in this game, it would not necessarily pay off in a future game. So I don't love that line. We also did see very clunky turns with Send Packing or Swing Big that didn't exactly do the thing we wanted them to do, send packing in particular, being the least valuable player across this game, did work out for us, and we see that Kassai did not hit a 6 copper blood on her hands. Kassai just playing mid-range with sabers and not hatchets feels like a worse hatchet story. And I think she needs to pull that combo together in order to win this matchup, and if she can't do it, then she dies horribly. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to take that like button to pound town. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you've not already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out, but no matter what you do, I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.